Today, we're going to put a name to a feeling I think a lot of us know all too well. It's that very specific kind of tired, the kind that doesn't come from a long day at the office, but from, say, a 10-minute conversation. We're talking about the social exhaustion of the pattern seeker.
You know that feeling, right? You wrap up a perfectly nice chat, maybe a coffee with a friend or a quick call, and you just feel wiped out, like you need to go lie down in a dark room for an hour. The conversation wasn't intense, it wasn't an argument, so why on earth are you so tired?
Well, if that sounds familiar, there's a really good chance you're what we're calling a pattern seeker. It's not a flaw, it's not a disorder, it's just a particular way your mind is wired to work, in social settings. So let's dive into what that actually means. To really get this, I want you to imagine something. Think of your mind as a detective, a really good one who's always on the case. So what is a pattern seeker? Well, it's someone whose brain just doesn't stop at the words being said. Nope, unconsciously, automatically, you're scanning for everything else. The tiny shifts in tone, the way someone's holding their body, the little pause before they answer a question, you're analyzing all of it.
And that's really the core of it. Every single conversation, big or small, becomes a kind of puzzle, a case to be solved. And your mind is the lead detective, looking for clues, connecting dots, trying to figure out the real story, all while the conversation is still happening. It's an incredible skill for sure, but as we're about to see, it has a hidden cost.
So what does this detective work actually sound like inside your own head? Well, it's kind of like having a constant, non-stop internal monologue running in the background. You're in the middle of a perfectly normal chat, and suddenly your inner detective chimes in. You notice a small shift in body language, and the analysis kicks in instantly. Are they feeling defensive? Did I say something? Or are they maybe just a little cold? And then another clue pops up. You're tracking these tiny micro-expressions, trying to figure out the real feeling behind the social niceties. Your brain is running this constant sincerity check in the background.
And here's the real kicker. A lot of the time, that detective turns the magnifying glass right back on you. The energy in the room changes just a little bit, and your first instinct is to hit rewind and scan for your own mistake. That constant self-monitoring is a massive part of the whole process.
Okay, so we've met the inner detective. We've heard that constant chatter. But what's the price you pay for all this mental work? Why does it leave you feeling so completely exhausted?
The answer really is simple. It's something called cognitive load. Your brain is essentially doing 2 or maybe even 3 jobs at once. It's trying to listen, and it's running this incredibly complex analysis program in the background. It's kind of like trying to stream a 4K movie while also rendering a complex 3D model on the same old laptop. Something's got to give.
I mean, just look at this chart. It really puts it into perspective. For a pattern seeker, the actual listening and talking might be the smallest part of the job. The vast majority of your mental energy, that huge 60% slice, is being eaten up by that constant background analysis. It's no wonder you feel drained. And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? It perfectly captures that feeling, that huge mismatch between what you did and how tired you feel. It's not a casual chat, it's a mental marathon. Okay, so we get the what and we get the why, but the good news is you're not just stuck with this exhaustion forever. So let's talk about finding a path to a little more calm in your social life. The very first step is learning to spot the difference between just noticing something and going into full-blown hyper-analysis. You know, it's one thing to make a helpful observation like, that person seems a little quiet today. That's just being aware. It's a whole other thing to immediately invent 10 different stories for why they're quiet, with you as the villain in every single one. That's the part that drains your battery.
So here are 3 really gentle, practical steps. First, just acknowledge the thought. When you notice that detective starting up, just say, there you are again, with no judgment. Second, try to gently bring your focus back to the surface, to the actual words the person is saying. And third, and this one is the big one, is to try and accept ambiguity. Give yourself permission to not know. It's actually okay to not know exactly what another person is thinking all the time.
And that leads us to our final idea, and it's probably the most freeing one of all. It's about letting go of that need to have everything figured out, to have total certainty in every conversation. Look, you're not going to fire your inner detective. It's part of you. And honestly, it's probably the source of your greatest empathy. The real skill is learning to be the chief of police. It's about knowing which cases are worth investigating and, more importantly, knowing when it's okay to just stamp the file unsolved and move on. So I'll just leave you with this question. That pattern-seeking mind of yours is incredibly powerful, but it can also be incredibly loud. What could you hear? What new things might you notice if, just for a moment, you stop trying to read between the lines and just listen to the lines themselves?